Where was I going? Oh, so the looking glass self is, according to theory, the way you envision others viewing you. You feel me on this? So let's say it'd be, okay, you're here and I'm here. According to the looking glass self, I think kind of philosophy or approach, I would be considering, as I go about my activities, I would be considering how I believe you consider me. And that would, in turn, have some sort of effect on how I'm actually behaving, and what I'm actually saying, and so on. And I do want to let you know that now, that I think that that's what marketing essentially is. I mean, that is what marketing is. Marketing is like, what do people like? What do people care about? And you're projecting your thoughts of your product onto people and how it might resonate with them. So you say, people like this. And you want people to have a certain image of your product. So you say, my product endorses or embodies this particular aspect, and that is what people are looking for in me. And that's part of kind of having your product, your production line determined by the market. What an album. Short, but phenomenal. And so that's that. And so I'm very fascinated with artifacts for that very reason. I mean, I realized that, you know, the first spoon, the first fork, the cup made out of gourds and stuff, that wasn't really, that was very functional in itself. You know, in the early workings of the human, in humankind as we know it today, I mean, those relics, those artifacts are almost entirely based on functionality, whereas now we have a lot of luxuries that don't necessarily force us into that. Though I do think we're redefining rather what it is to be. We're redefining functionality. For instance, what is the purpose here? That function is the same. You know, it's a euphemism for purpose or end. Listen to this. Sorry. The music's gonna, you know, and that's why I wanted you guys to be on the music train with me, because sometimes you do need to stop and smell the music. You know what I'm saying? It's some good stuff. I know that there are people out there who say they don't like music. I tend to think it's kind of like vegetables, in that you haven't had the right vegetable and you haven't had it prepared properly, either cooked right or left raw, whatever the veggie is, because there's one out there. My friend says that. I've had a couple friends, but one particular friend, my friend, I will probably divulge his name because he's a cool, anyway, I got a cool friend up the road, known him for years, and he says the same thing about Fish albums, or Fish as a band. You know, I'm like, oh, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of the jam band scene. And he's like, dude, you don't have to be. There's a Fish song that you like. There's a Fish song that everyone likes. It's just the nature of Fish. And it's because they have a varied sound, apparently. And they're talented, but anyway. So anyway, the Looking Glass Self relates to this vidcast and vidcasts that I will produce from here on. The serial that is The Only Child Review. It's important to note that I will not be, as much as I am able to remove myself from the audience and audience expectations or audience tendencies to will a certain direction. And when I say audience, that includes myself, because I'll be checking this out on my computer before I upload it to the internet for your viewing pleasure. You know, I don't want to, I'm not going to be cornered into a certain field of discussion or cornered out of a certain field of interest because of what I think you want out of me or what I think you perceive of me. And that back and forth swip swap can happen for years and years and years. The looking glass self, you know what I'm saying? And we're not going to do that. We're just going to chill out here. So now that that's in place, just relax. Anyway, so harking back to the very original stuff, once we got out of here, I left Arizona at the beginning of 8th grade. I was into 8th grade for, I think, 3 weeks, and then we left. So my 8th grade year, when all the other kids in Arizona were actually taking part in coursework for their 8th grade year, I was actually traveling with my folks and kind of, I wouldn't say hand-to-mouthing it, but we were certainly at the, we were kind of at the whim of others. And people were generous, I think. That's not to say that we were, you know, begging or anything. No, no, no. We had some connections through other people, but we were essentially living with, you know, not perfect strangers, but strangers to us anyway. So yeah, that was neat. And then we finally got over to Moscow, and I think we got over there in October of '93. What's the month before October? September? August, September. Yeah, it might have been September of '93. And that was cool. I remember it started snowing in October, and it was wild. It was cool to see that the Russian kids, you know, snow is a huge part of your life. I mean, in Moscow, for all intents and purposes, it's winter 9 months of the year. You know, you have one summer, or rather 1 month of all your other seasons, and then you have about 9 months of winter. And it's cool to see that the youth, and I think even the adults, I think the Russians really love, I think snow is native. The cold is native to Moscow and largely other parts of Russia. And you know, that's just how it is. And so they really dig on it. And it's cool to see. I did too. I loved it. Coming from the hot desert, I actually really enjoyed, I just really enjoyed the winters there, the 9-month winters. And in the off times, in the season, in the you know, the month-long summer and the month-long fall and spring, I played baseball. Believe it or not, we used to play baseball there with the Americans. I went to the British International School, which was actually kind of apprehended from the just treacherous grasp, I guess you'd say, of the third. I will call him out, who kind of was the front runner in the school itself with the creation of Moscow International School. I say that he was kind of an ass because he took the money and ran rather. One day we came into school and I remember there was this woman, I shouldn't mention, well, I don't know about the names, we'll see. Cool woman, real cool woman. Spoke like 8 languages, including classical Greek and Latin. Yeah, 2 technically dead languages. She said once she had Latin down, the others were like weekend ventures. She's like, oh, I'll learn Spanish this week. She didn't speak Spanish, interestingly enough. But tons of others. She was Belgian. Anyway, I remember she came into school one day and she was just like, she just looked dumbfounded. And the American who had started the Moscow International School, MIS, actually ran out with all the school's money. And it was gone. Moscow was kind of a wild west. And it wasn't just that the third was, you know, a total dork. He wasn't a total bad guy necessarily. I mean, he certainly wasn't square. You know what I'm saying? But you know, he realized that, you know, this is for people who are living perhaps a little too much in the present. He realized that this was the land of plenty and the land of mafioso. Excuse me. Did I just get crap on this? So, hang on one sec. All right, well, if you guys got some stuff on you, I apologize. So he ran off with all the money, and then the Brits took over. Nord Anglia, actually. We, in Moscow, were the most expensive Nord Anglia school in the world when I was there. Things have probably trailed back quite a bit now, or perhaps the price of other Nord Anglia schools throughout the world have actually risen in cost. But it was kind of neat. It was really cool. We, the Brits took over, and now if you look up British International School in Moscow. And it's pretty wild. You'll see multiple locations. By the time we left, there were, I think, 3 different locations. Now there are like 7 or 9 or something throughout the city. And they cater to kids of all different age groups. And it was a good school. Really cool people. Teachers were great.